Welcome to Sports Scope, the most influential sports talk show in the nation.
What is today, the 19th?
Stay tuned for updates and great sports content.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Sports Scope. I'm your host, Robert Butler, on this 7th day of March here. We're a week away from the big conference tournaments really playing in the NCAA. I know some of the smaller conferences are playing right now in the tournament. Of course, we're 2 weeks away from today. Today's Thursday from the big NCAA tournament. Next week, I'm going to try to get Keith Engel on the program and talk some college basketball sleepers and everything. I think it's going to be a really good tournament here. So going to talk a little NBA to open up the program. The Kings not really getting a lot of love now. They're hovering around a 7th seed. Don't have the record they did last year. League is a little bit better around them, but they did beat the Lakers 3 straight, and all the media talks about is the Lakers this and the Lakers that. I think they're one of the teams now that could match up with the Lakers in the West. Won a few games against Denver as well. Really like that 1-2 combo with Sabonis and, of course, De'Aaron Fox here at 44 last night. Talk a little bit about them. Go over the West. I know Minnesota's looking pretty good right now against Indiana, but talk a little bit of Western Conference standings. I know Karl Anthony Towns looks like he has an injury that may keep him out for a little bit of time here. But some interesting talk there. Also, Mike Tyson, folks. Mike Tyson's going to fight Jake Paul, YouTube star. That's coming up July the 20th on Netflix, and I will watch that. I know it'll probably be late at night. That'll be played in that event will happen in Dallas, where the Cowboys play. What do you call it? Jerry's World or whatever. Speaking of that, Dalton Schultz, he's just telling the truth, you know. He's telling the truth about the sideshow culture that is created by one guy, Jerry Jones. I'll talk about that story here in a little bit as well. What I'll say, there's some more stories. And, of course, just basic news and notes here. The NFL, a lot of safeties bid. Justin Simmons got cut today. Saves the Denver Broncos $18 million. Looks like cornerbacks. The Bears are keeping Jalen Johnson. Signed a 4-year deal for him. Go over a little bit of news and notes here from the on the NFL as we get closer to the free agency and / new year beginning here in the NFL. So, all right, stand by. We'll be back here. 49 seconds here. Take a first and only break here on Sports Scope. We'll hit the ground running. Hello, Sports Scope followers. The program has seen tremendous growth since going 5 days a week. I just wanted to thank everybody for your cash contributions and sharing the program with friends and families. Just a reminder, if you want to contribute to the program, go to the Cash App, the cash sign, and Sports Scope. There are other ways to contribute to the program listed at the bottom of the screen. If you want to advertise on the program, go to sports, that is sports with an S, another S, scope, SKOPE, at gmail.com, just like it's listed at the bottom of the screen. Thank you and enjoy the program. All righty then. Okay, so last night, Kings did me right here. Had them in a parlay. Had the Kings in a parlay here to beat the Lakers last night. That was part of it. They were an underdog. Also, I took Golden State against Milwaukee. Giannis is still recovering from an injury here. And you can see, obviously, Golden State came back after that beatdown they took that long road trip against Boston the other night. But, yeah, everything is about what's wrong with the Lakers. Anthony Davis is not doing this. The Lakers are letting, was it a 52 to 24 run or something like that? How about give the team credit that actually won the game, like the Herm Edwards said in the NFL. former coach. You play to win the game. Why don't they? And of course, that's why you got shows like mine, right? Remember, the Kings were a 3 seed last year, took Golden State to 7 games. Very young team, first year in the playoffs in a long time here. You got guys like Malik Monk, Sabonis. Love that 1-2 there. I still think Sabonis needs to apply himself more on the offensive end. Don't get it every night like I would like to get it out of him. Love Malik Monk off the bench there. Who's that guy? Davion Mitchell. Got some young players. Of course, Harrison Barnes come over from a championship team. He's getting a little long in the tooth, post 30 years old. Not going to get it every night out of him, but sometimes I did notice that he is their leading scorer. Now they're down to a 7 seed. I don't want to say that they're that much worse. I just think the one thing, we know that somebody can, you hear some of the national people go on and on about the Lakers, that the only team that can stop him is Denver. I'm not one of those people. I think this team has proved they won 3 straight, and they were down big early to the Lakers, and the Lakers simply ran out of gas, and they came back and beat the Lakers, this Kings team. And now, like I said, they're 3-0 against the Lakers this year. This game was in Staples Center in L.A. Do they still call it Staples? I think they actually call it some kind of cryptocurrency rate or something. But it was at the Lakers. Again, this team could be dangerous. I've made a note here. The Kings are 2-1 against Denver this year. Maybe Denver has a tendency, I think, because everybody gets up for them every night. They're the championship team. They played so well last year in the playoffs here that you're getting everybody's best punch. I think they're like a half a game out of first place. A huge game tonight. Like them tonight. They got to play Boston tonight. It's in Denver. Both teams coming off a loss. Boston gave up a lead there late against Cleveland. Denver got the best punch from Phoenix, came back in that overtime. Of course, they ended up losing that game. Durant had a great overtime game there. So, big game tonight. I do like Denver at home, but we shall see. You never know. But looking at this, going back to this Kings team, they're a dangerous 7 seed. They would actually, I'll talk about that in a minute. They're 5 games. The Kings are 5 games out of the 4th place. Now, that would give them home court advantage throughout the first round. I'm sure Mike Brown's going to push these guys to get to that, try to get that home court in the first round here. Definitely want to stay out of those playing games. You never know who you're going to play. It's going to be a rough ride because you're going to be playing either the Lakers, it looks like, or a Golden State team who they're 1-2 against this year for whatever reason. But, that being said, if the playoffs started today, they would open up against OKC, in which they're 2-1 against. Like I said earlier, national media only talk about the Lakers and the Warriors in the West. These guys are 9 and 10 seeds, folks. There's a lot more interesting teams, and they wouldn't talk Denver if the Denver wasn't champ. And of course, the Jokers won two out of the last 3 MVPs, and some saying, well, but he should have won last year. Joel Embiid pushed himself to the limit last year, got the MVP, and of course he fell apart in the playoffs, and that's been the story of his career here. But this Kings team is a legit team to watch. Sometimes teams, they flare up, they get to the playoffs, they're still very young. They get put out by a vet team like a Golden State, perhaps. You see this in the NFL sometimes. And then they come back next year. They're not quite as good record-wise or seeding-wise, but they're twice as good. They're tough. They've got that playoff roughness. They've got a little bit of that. They know what to expect, know where to press, know where to kind of consume your energy a little bit. Parts of the games, that's the maturation process here. They were usually a young team like the Kings and a vet team like the I mean, your leader is a 39-year-old player. Then your other star is 30 and a banged up 30 at Anthony Davis. You got to know how to pace yourself, and they showed that last night here. But I just think that they're a team to watch. But we've got 15, 20 games left. Everybody is in that home stretch. Feel this is a really good time for the NBA. I know here the next 2 weeks, I know there's going to be some distraction with the NCAA tournament coming up, but that'll eventually calm down after the first week or two. And it kind of gets – that's weird. I think it was Colin Cowherd said this, but it might have been Jay Billis. The tournament's rare exciting early on, the NCAA tournament. And then it kind of works its way down. And then after the first week or so, then maybe the Final Four is pretty good. But there's a middle part there where you just kind of, you kind of looking back into other sports like the NBA or whatever's going on. But I think that the Kings are a legit team to talk about in the Western Conference. It kind of flies a small market team. They're not the 1 seed, and teams are nobody's really taking them serious. I think they can win a playoff series or possibly 2, pending on matchup, pending on seeding. Definitely have the talent, definitely have the coaching there. They showed it last night. Another team that lacks inside physical play, but they're the 1 seed, and that's the Oklahoma City Thunder. Been wanting to talk about OKC for a minute. Chet Holmgren is only in his 2nd year, very physically undersized, big man. But he is skilled. He has shown that he can play at this level. He gels well with this team here, led by Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who's been in the league, 3 or 4 years now, 25 years old, not as young as I thought he was. He could pull this team together and win a playoff series. That would be really big for this OKC team. But the reason why I'm bringing up this team, it's really impressive of what the Thunder have done in the NBA under general manager who I just cannot quit raving about, Sam Presti. Okay. Big props to him again. Pivoted off the Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, James Harden group to the Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, a.k.a. SGA. Average age of this team, they got the 1 seed, folks. Average age of the Thunder, 23 years old. Now, mind you, they've rebuilt. The last time they were actually in the play, last year they were in the play-in game status and they lost. But the last time they were actually in the playoffs prior to that was back in the 1920 season with Chris Paul. That was supposed to have been a dumpster fire team. He made that work. Got the right players around Paul. They got to the playoffs that year, And, of course, my thing is, what a quick rebuild. You can't do that in the NBA that quick. Look at Victor Wembanyama. First year in the league, they're towards the bottom of the seat. They're going to be in the lottery again next year. Okay. And this team right here was in the playoffs 19 and 20. Sam Presti in the NBA. Now, the NFL, yeah, that's about right. 3 years for a rebuild. No big deal. But this is 3 years. They're sitting at the 1 seed. So they're going to get to the playoffs. They're not going to be in the play-in time. They were in the play-in game last year. So technically you want to say that's the playoffs. But there's no strings attached to it this year. They're actually a playoff team at the season ended today. Number 1 seed. I know they're tied with I think they're tied with Minnesota or whatever. And Denver's a half game back. But still, average age, 23 years old, middle of the country, 3 years removed from stripping down. No Westbrook, no Kevin Durant. Now, Harden, that's been quite a few years ago since they moved off Harden. But probably the best general manager in the NBA, if you look at it. Now, I know he hasn't won a championship yet, but you could see Golden State, guys like Draymond Green. No, it wasn't Draymond Green. I think it was Steve Kerr, excuse me. He says everybody knows this team is coming. Probably going to have to get Holmgren's going to have to put some weight on. They're going to have to work on their inside game, be a little bit more physical on the rebound. But got a good young team here, energetic. The chemistry is perfect for them. In just 3 years, it goes to show you, no matter where you are, if you got the right scouting, and I don't think they ever had the actual air quote #1 overall pick in these last 3 years. So, to go from that in the West where the competition is at its absolute best here. In the East, who do you got? Boston and a banged up. You got Boston. You got a banged up Knicks team. Okay, you got an 8 seed that went last year in the Miami Heat. You got a banged up old Milwaukee team other than Giannis. Okay, who got beat pretty handily last night. That's another story in its own. So it is really interesting to see how they're going to play out this year, what the adjustment, the coaching staff. I don't know if they got the right coach right now. Nobody talks about them. They're right in the middle of the country. They're bad for about 3 years, but Presti has done such a good job getting these players in here. Another team that's going to be interesting in the West. It kind of fell under the radar. Another small market team. People, myself included, have pretty much wrote Zion Williamson off, but he's out playing, putting together some consistent games here. He's not been hurt, knock on wood. New Orleans Pelican fans. But I got to thinking about it, and there will be an interesting team to watch in the playoffs. A little bit older. They have some experience under their belt. I started looking at the balance of big, small, guard play, outside, inside shooting there, hovering around the 4 or 5 seed as well is this New Orleans Pelican team. You got a C.J. McCollum. Brandon Ingram could get you 25 to 30 points every single night here, along with C.J. McCollum, who's been – man, he's got about he's not too far. He's 30, 32 years old. Veteran point guard, veteran point guard here with a Brandon Ingram and a Zion Williamson here. They're not going to be an easy out for one of these bigger teams, whether you're talking about a Golden State or a Laker team or anybody like that. So keep an eye on them. Because, again, people won't talk about them. The West will be very interesting. You're going to get a lot of 6 and 7 game series. Now, last I checked, Minnesota's beating Indianapolis tonight, but who knows, okay? I know that Karl Anthony Towns has got an injury. I was already he's out indefinitely. Now, Anthony Edwards seems very distracted. I don't know if anybody noticed this the other day about Edwards. He's an up-and-coming star, American player. Definitely the most talented player on Minnesota. I didn't think they was going to get a guy more talented than Karl Anthony Towns, and sure enough, they did. Okay, they did, and it's Anthony Edwards out of the Atlanta area. I said that because a lot of the non-American players have been the players to watch here in the West. Here, he leaves the game at half. I don't know that's what I'm saying. This week coaching you got in the NBA. You got too much of a players' league. Yes, the guy's father, his kid was born. Okay, I get that. But the kid was born at halftime. You couldn't wait till the end of the game or just not play the game. Yeah, I had him in a parlay last week, and that dude ended up costing me a game last week. Matter of fact, they've cost me every big game I've took Minnesota. They've cost me. They've got concentration problems. They don't score consistently. They're too Anthony Edwards dependent. Where the heck is their big man? Where's Karl Anthony Towns when you need him? Okay. And of course, I know Conley's 150 years old in basketball years. They were up there at the 1 seed. Not a team I can really trust right now. You know, they're simply not a team. So I'm not really worried about them, even though they're a very high seed right now. I'm not going to give them the kind of respect and attention that these other guys. And of course, you got the Clippers. A lot of players around 32, 33 years old here. Westbrook's already injured. I got high on them early, about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and then the reality starting to set in. The Clippers in the West they got big man problems. They can't handle teams with bigs. The Lakers have kind of handled them here in the last couple games. They played the Lakers. Denver, 9-point average wins over them. They're just not going to get anywhere. So they're sitting there at 4. Phoenix, Kevin Durant, don't know how long he's going to be able to hang out and play. Plus, you've got Bradley Beal, who's been hurt all the time. Booker's hurt now. That's your young player who's not supposed to be hurt, right? And then, of course, you've got the Lakers at 10, at 34 and 30, who can beat a lot of these teams. The Lakers would probably beat OKC in a series, okay? But I don't think they would beat a Sacramento in a series. And I know they won't beat a Denver. But I will talk about, I got a respect for them. Golden State playing better than 33-28 record, but when you're hovering there at 9, which is in playing game status, it's going to be the same story as it was last year, which I was proven to be right. Golden State's going to run out of gas, okay? If they still hover around that 9-10 spot, now, of course, if they go past 10 there, they'll be out of the playoffs. Now, Utah's 5 games back from them. They should be okay. But my thing is, so you're going to have to do the play-in game if you're Golden State. Then you're going to have to play perhaps an OKC or probably beat those teams. But those young teams, you're going to have to go on the road. And they're gonna win some games because the role players are going to outshoot you. Same thing with the Lakers. You're going to wear down against these younger, more vibrant teams here. Okay, your average players are 33, 34, 35 years old. I think Steph's almost 36, right? So you're just not going to be able to run with these guys, these young teams here. So the West is going to be very interesting as we get closer to playoff time. I can't wait to see it. Again, the great game tonight. You got Denver versus Boston, which will probably be the final. But, like I said, Boston, you can't trust Boston. You can't trust Boston. They're too much of a jump shooting team. 21st in free throw shooting, 1st in 3-point attempts, which means they're trying to shoot their way to a championship. When you got a 7-foot-plus big man there, he's supposed to be the guy you're supposed to go to when that 3 ball isn't falling, like I said earlier on the program. So, but hey, the NBA, as far as play on the court, it's a pretty good product come playoff time, particularly in the West. And I know they've got their other problems to deal with at this current time. Okay. Switching gears here. Interesting story here I read out of Boxing World, right? That Mike Tyson is going to fight Jake Paul, the YouTuber. Tyson will be 58, folks, 58 years old come June. These guys are going to fight right around my birthday, on July the 20th, Saturday, July. Sorry, my tag, that freaking tie is jacked up here. I shouldn't have got this tie, but I should have got another tie. But anyways, they fight. Jake Paul's 27 years old. This guy's old enough to be his dad, 31 years older than he is, okay? But I was looking at this fight here, and it looks like what I could not find out, there was a write-up here. saying that Jake Paul, the YouTuber turned boxer, will face Mike Tyson at the AT&T Stadium. This is where the Cowboys play in Dallas here. Billed as a heavyweight mega event streamed on Netflix. Now, I will watch this. It's Tyson's first fight since 2020. In that exhibition, he fought against Roy Jones Jr. I seen a little bit of that, saw enough clips about it, read enough about it. Tyson was taking it easy on Roy Jones Jr. Pretty good payday for both of them. I think that went about 8 rounds. I'm not sure how long this one will go. My guess it'll go more than 3 as far as the actual bout per se. My guess is probably go 10, 12 rounds, but it hasn't said how many rounds it's set to go. I'm not saying one person is going to knock out another person per se. What did Jake Paul say? He said, it's crazy. Think about my second pro fight. I went viral for knocking out Nate Robertson on Mike Tyson's undercard, said Paul. Now, less than 4 years later, I'm stepping up to face Tyson to see if I have what it takes to beat one of boxing's most notorious icons. So probably going to make some good money. I did read this, that Tyson's last actual fight that was sanctioned was back in 2005 when he fought professionally and got beat by Kevin McBride. Tyson 50-6, 44 wins by way of knockout. He's a boxing Hall of Fame. Okay. What would make this watchable if Paul goes too far into ticking Tyson off? You know, I like what Paul's done, Jake Paul. Remember, his only loss was to Tyson Fury, the brother, ironically, of did I say Tommy Fury? Tyson Fury. That would be rich, right? Tommy Fury, the brother of Tyson Fury, ironically was named after Mike Tyson in 1988. His dad named his son that was born in 88 after his favorite fighter. I think Tyson's actually back. Tyson Fury is going to fight later on this year as well. I knew he wasn't actually retired in air quotes here. But so this guy has knocked out, who's it, Nate? I can't remember who it was. Nate Diaz knocked out an MMA fighter, beat Nate Robertson, former basketball player. He's somewhat of a novice fighter, 9-1 himself here, but not a terrible 6 knockouts here. Yeah, he beat Nate Diaz, Anderson Silva, and Tyron Woodley after Robertson knocked out in big money main events. The fighter from Cleveland has since pivoted to fighting boxers. This from ESPN writes about it, and have more experience than him to gain seasoning with the eye toward one day competing in a world championship. Turned pro 4 years ago. So my point is, I would really like to see, because, you know, he's a mouthy guy. You know, like I said earlier, yeah, I'm a YouTuber. I'm somewhat considered that a live stream show. You want to call it a podcast, whatever. I hate to get roped in with those folks, but it is what it is. You know, the replay of my program is a podcast. As much as I want it to be more class personified than that. But that's what he's done. He's made a lot of money. You know, kudos to him and his brother. He's turned out to be a better fighter than Logan, the older brother. But what I don't want to see is a bunch of sparring and walking around and really not making this worthwhile. Again, I hope that he's real cocky, runs that smart mouth, and pushes Tyson's buttons. And this will be a good fight. This will be something that somebody would talk about. And Tyson go, you know, like he used to do. By the way, Tyson's lost a lot of weight. He's in really good shape. They didn't mention the fact that he beat the crap out of a guy on an airplane about a year and a half ago. So that wasn't counted as one of the sanctioned fights. Guy was giving Tyson a hard way to go. It got caught on video. Some drunk guy on some airplane, and Tyson hit him in his head a couple of times, bruised him up, but Tyson didn't get in any trouble because the guy was hassling Tyson. I think he may have touched Tyson. Either way, watching him spar, some of the videos you've seen on the X app and whatnot with Tyson, he's not, I mean, he's pretty close to a form here. Obviously, being 58 this summer, people think, well, this guy, 27, 58, could Jake Paul spar around the ring and do an Ali, a rope-a-dope on a Mike Tyson and let Tyson wear himself down if he was a seasoned professional fighter and he's a little bit taller than Tyson. Tyson's only like 5'10", 5'11". I think Paul's closer 6'1", but he's not quite that tactical. He's not as tactical as a Lennox Lewis or anybody like that. He's not that tactical or seasoned. But I think that would be his only way to give him a shot to beat Tyson, would be kind of run around the ring a little bit, stick and move, jab, jab, jab. Tyson's still just that much quicker. Tyson's going to use his weight against him and get him in the corner and hit him up under the ribs. And when he drops his right, Tyson may level him. He's a young guy, but if he ticks off, Tyson's probably going to take it easy on him. But if he really ticks Tyson, you're going to see it. You're going to see it. And I tell you what, that's what the fans want to see. Paul's kind of a mouthy guy. Just kind of looks kind of like a punk sometimes. Rubs people the wrong way with his boastfulness, and would love to see Tyson. And even at 58, this is like a real-life Rocky Balboa. Remember the movie Rocky Balboa, the remake, when he fought the guy about 8 to 10, a few years ago, and that particular version, it was the one that was made, I think it was like 10 years, about 15 years ago. Rocky's face, so Sylvester Stallone's made, where he hits the guy and takes a lot of the wind out of him in that expedition fight. Something like that. Tyson's power is really going to be able to get this guy. Tyson's not going to let Paul out of his sight long enough to for him really to tee off on Tyson. I'm just saying all this. It's going to be worth watching. For those you got next, I just renewed my Netflix. I'll turn it off for a few months during football season, 4 months or whatever. And then I just recently turned it back on and catching up. The Sylvester Stallone documentary is really good. Really good. If you haven't got a chance to see that, his dad was totally jealous of him growing up. And then he tried to spear him when they went on I forgot what they call that. I think it's called croquet, but I'm not sure. When you're riding on the horses and hitting the balls or whatever. When he was 40 years old, one of those crochet, I think that's what it's called. He knocked him off the horse and almost got Stallone injured. And right in the prime of his career, when he was 40, already done done Rambo movies. He done about 2 or 3 Rockies at that point. And good documentary on Netflix. But this fight's going to be on Netflix July the 20th. I was hoping they won't put it late at night. It'll be in the Central Time Zone. Maybe they'll put it a little bit earlier. May get my dad to come by and watch it here. Love to see Tyson tee off on this guy. But we shall see, Owuku Saki. All right. Switching back to football. Was kind of going around the internet today, late yesterday. Dalton Schultz, tight end for Houston. You guys know I've had on this show Jim Jeffcoat, former great Dallas Cowboy, great Jim Jeffcoat, 2-time Super Bowl winner here. Don't like for me to criticize the Cowboys too much. He still works with the Cowboys as an ambassador for the people in the suites and stuff. It's a constant, just a brand there in Dallas. And Dalton Schultz basically says on the Pat McAfee show, he didn't realize how much more he signed a 1-year deal with Houston last year. Had a good year there with C.J. Stroud. Won a playoff game. Looked really good at times here, Schultz. Had a few drops. Always known for a few drops, Dalton Schultz is. And he said something that I've been saying for years about the distraction there and all that's going on in Dallas, you can see it the way Dallas plays. Okay, they're very good. And listen, what I've said about Dallas over this past year and in the after last year's win, last summer coming into the regular season, when I was talking to Jim Jeffcoat, just not sucking up to Jim Jeffcoat, I still stand by that. This is the best team since those teams that Jeffcoat played on, 92, 93, that won those Super Bowls. They haven't had great teams. It's not saying a lot since those teams. They had their first win against Tampa 2 years ago on the road in the playoffs since 1992-93. Since 1993, that was against the 49ers when they went on to win the Super Bowl that year against Buffalo. Okay, the 92-93 team, the 22-23 team. I still say that. But if you're talking championship Cowboys, you do not need any distractions. These games average score, folks, for NFL games, 4 points. Let me play Pat McAfee talking with Dalton Schultz. This is what he said. Don't let me put words in anybody's mouths. I've got the actual soundbite. Listen up.
Your time in Dallas, I'm not going to say that. But, when you get to Houston, is it vastly different than your time in Dallas whenever you're talking about all the off the field? Is it? Is that real?
That was one of the first things that kind of stuck out to me is, it feels like much more, I don't want to say college because it's not, but, the focus is just football, you know what I mean? And going back and, telling some people, how kind of being around the Cowboys, practice facility and, game day, describing some of the interactions and stuff that you see on a day-to-day basis, surprised a lot of people. They're like, holy crap, that actually happens, at a practice facility. And, it's just, you think it's normal, and then you come to a place like this.
Like what? You don't have to out anything, but, what are you...
No, dude, it's just there's people literally going on tours while you're lifting in the weight room. And they've got a one-way mirror for people to look at. It's literally, it's a zoo, dude. There's people tapping on the glass, trying to get people's attention as they're doing, power cleans or whatnot. And it's different. And I mean, that's the brand that they've built. That's what Jerry Jones likes. That's the way they run things. And there's nothing wrong.
So I think what he was saying is
no, and I like how, and say this sarcastically, that Pat McAfee tried to clean that up at the end. No. Let me play the last bit. That's funny. Dabbing on the window like they're zoo animals, Remember what Kevin Durant, and maybe he has something here. Maybe Kevin Durant was making a good point. Matter of fact, I ain't going to say Kevin Durant was not making a good point. He did make a good point, and it's stuck in my head. Was it last week or the week before that? This woman, I guess Durant was probably ignoring them because, listen, they were warming up, and ironically, in Dallas, right? So they're warming up for the game. Durant's with the Suns. And this old woman, heavy-set lady, she said, Kevin Durant, you a bleep. Called him a B word. And, of course, she comes back, hey, what are you talking about? They're behind the little rope here. And I just said something on the X app man, just let it go. It's a bunch of old people. And I got to thinking about that. Durant had a good point. They look at us like we're farm animals or something, like we're zoo animals, like we're not human beings. And then listen to the last minute, the last few seconds here. I'm going to play a little bit of this again. What Dalton Schultz says about people doing a tour while they're working out in the practice. That's funny because where I work at now, one of my drops is at the practice facility for the Titans, and they have gates you have to go through, security gates, to get into the indoor facility. But you can tell it's a Titan facility. They got the big Titan flag there. They got the big logo on the little bubble looking thing, right? And I couldn't imagine just free willy walking in there during July training camp or whatever and poking on the window, say, hey, that's Will Levis. Hey, man, how you doing? You know, like he's some kind of, you know, when you see kids poke on the windows when you're looking at the Lions, you know, or the Bears, the Grizzly Bears, or the Tigers, you know. Listen to the last end. This is funny if you think about it.
I'm not going to say that.
And they've got like a one-way mirror for people to like look at. Like it's literally, it's a zoo, dude. There's people tapping on the glass, like trying to get people's attention as if they're doing, you know, power cleans or whatnot. And it's different. And I mean, that's the
diving on the glass like a, you know, if they trying to get somebody's attention while you're lifting some. He talking about dead weights, and you know, there's been players that talked about like Jalen Hurts, 600-pound squat. And you're lifting that kind of weight. You don't want to be, oh, hey, Mr. Jimmy and Jim so-and-so, here, take a picture of me, you know. Hey, I'm a farm animal. You're out in African wildlife here, you know. You're taking a picture of a cheetah. You know, you see those videos of people taking pictures of this cheetah, and then the cheetah jumps on the card, and he scares the crap out of some people. It would have freaked me out. And they're still taking the picture. But that's all Jerry Jones. You know, that's all. Jimmy Johnson told this story. One of the reasons why he left. He said one time Jerry Jones wanted him to meet some prince of one of these countries, Jordan, one of these Arab countries. And Jimmy Johnson made it look like he was wanted him to sit in while he's talking to the team. It was something really personal that he was doing with the club, with the guys. And, I'd like for him to sit in. It was something in regards to that. I can't remember exactly what it was. I don't think it was something where Jimmy's just around the office and he wanted him to meet him during a June. I think this was like before a game or something like that, where, you know, Jimmy's really dialed in. They've been working their butt off all week. He doesn't want any of that crap around. He just wants to talk to the team. And Jimmy said, no, man. I got a team to coach here, okay? I'm not going to meet some prince from one of these countries. This ain't the all. So he made it look like as if it was in the middle of the season. I'm working on something, you know. Should I go while he's working on a major project and say, hey, I'm Jimmy Johnson. Won't you stop what you're doing? You got to respect people's time. And Jerry said, no, hey, look, I'm the owner of the team. I can do whatever I want. Oh, okay. And then Jimmy said that, plus he was just flat out burned out with just trying to live up to this hype here after winning 2 Super Bowls back-to-back. We know that they later on won a 3rd Super Bowl with those same players with Barry Switzer. Got to the NFC Championship game that 3rd year. Think about it. They could have won 4 straight. Now, it may give Jimmy Johnson a heart attack, but my whole point is, yeah, they won 3 straight. They don't have a problem scouting. It's not a talent problem there. I do think Micah Parsons, some of the criticisms that Micah's brought to that team, and I've said this countless number of times, I appreciate what he said. I don't care if he's just 24 years old. He's there for more than just a huge paycheck, the benefits. This guy wants to leave a legacy, you know, and I'm not sure. I think they're trying to say, put him as a defensive end instead of a linebacker. It's supposed to be less money and whatnot, you know. But my thing is that maybe he should want to leave, you know, if they don't tighten up. And, of course, and it's all one guy. It's Jerry Jones. He's younger. He could stop all that, you know. People walking in while you're working out. I mean, think about what he said, that the Houston Texans, who were being known, who think about how embarrassing this could be. Deshaun Watson that wanted to get traded from. Nobody wanted to go to Houston. Houston was a train wreck just 2 or 3 years ago. Houston had a coach cussing fans out in Bill O'Brien. Okay. they had a problem with hiring too many ex-New England players, New England coaches or whatever. They hired one guy who wasn't even having a football background. So they were looked at as a dysfunctional franchise. And then a few course corrections here later. They got DeMeco Ryans. They got a franchise quarterback. And they've cleaned a lot of that up right now. And then you got a guy like Dalton Schultz saying, hey, this is much more. But the stuff in Dallas, this is going back 30 years. Because Jimmy Johnson just told the same story. He said, hey, man, they want me to meet some prince from some country while I'm about to, we're getting ready for a big game here. You know, this is not a, this is, we try, this is, I don't do this when you're in the middle of something, bust in on one of your old meetings and say, but then again, Jerry loves that stuff. Maybe he's cool with that. But again, when you're trying to win close games, when with the average score in NFL games is about 4 points, you know, every play, like Michael Irvin said, who played with the Jimmy Johnson teams, he says in the playoffs, in the regular season, series by series, whatnot, in the playoffs, yes, it's a higher speed. It's the highest speed. But it's play-by-play. Concentration on play-by-play. Okay? We know this is a great team, a talented team from a talent standpoint. They've blown a lot of teams out this year. They didn't blow out too many good teams. They couldn't beat the 49ers. But think about the lack of concentration they have to give up 40-something points at home and then get beat by 3 or 4 scores like that against the road team, the youngest team in 50 years to make the playoffs in the Green Bay Packers. You know, that's a distracted team. There's nothing else. There's no other excuse you could make for that. So Schultz has got a good point here, you know, and not to be mean, but I do like Stephen Jones, the son. Usually the sons are the ones that screw things up. But the dad's vanity's always been kind of an issue post Jimmy Johnson. It was an issue with Jimmy Johnson, but Jimmy Johnson was so focused at the time, such a good coach coming out of Miami. He just brought a lot of players in, had a lot of insight and everything. But when he dies, Jerry Jones, they'll probably win a Super Bowl because I like what Stephen Jones does. I like their scouts. You know, they're going to pay Dak Prescott $60 million just to win 12 more games next year or whatever, maybe 11, and get put out in the first round and be done. And that stadium would be full. I just mentioned the Tyson fight. Jake Paul, I'm going to watch that. I'll be up late. I got to go to church on Sunday, but I'll be up late. I'll be watching that Tyson fight. That'll be in Jerry's World, AT&T Stadium. You know, so anyways, speaking of the NFL, if you are in a need of a safety right now, there has never been a bigger time to get one. I mentioned over the past few years, teams like Cincinnati got to the Super Bowl. The Rams won a Super Bowl. Not the best safety. By the way, I mean, safeties and linebackers, not a big, crucial element to those last few Super Bowl winners. That being said, yeah, Kansas City, Bolton's a good linebacker, but they're not giving him a big bunch of money. I want to say he's still on a rookie who's that other guy, Calais or whatever. It doesn't take great safety play and linebacker play to win Super Bowls. Okay, Justin Simmons was released today by the Bears. Ari Morov, guy's got a pretty good X site here on the X out, said the free agent safety market's insane. I mean, you got guys like Eddie Jackson, Pro Bowl level from the Bears, Kevin Byard, former Pro Bowl with the Titans. He was cut. C.J. Gardner-Johnson led the league in interceptions year before last. He's technically a free agent. I think the Lions are going to be able to bring him back. I mentioned Jamal Adams. Man, remember that big trade that the Seattle Seahawks made to get him? And that was probably part of the reason why Pete Carroll, they got rid of Pete Carroll, doing crazy trades like that. Yeah, Justin Simmons, just mentioned him. Julian Blackmon, Kyle Duggar. He's got some kind of transition tag from the Patriots there. Micah Hyde, Jordan Poyer, both safeties there with the Buffalo Bills, And of course the Bears actually went and re-signed cornerback Jalen Johnson to a 4-year deal. Thought he was going to be actually a free agent. But if you look at it, safeties, this is a good time. Safeties and linebackers. Patrick Queen from the Ravens. I thought they would probably keep him beside Roquan Smith. That didn't happen. Queen's going to be a free agent come Monday. A lot of teams going to try to talk to Queen out of Baltimore. Shaq Barrett, linebacker there, very versatile player, can get sacks as well. He'll be available from Tampa here. But I noticed that Tampa did franchise one of their safeties, by the way, as a side note. But for the most part, these safeties, this is a good time, though. If you wanted to pick up one for a bargain with that kind of market there, a team like Tennessee, they can use somebody opposed to Monty Hooker. I can see a team like a Tennessee, teams that are not very good in the middle might want to pick up one of these type of safeties, maybe a Rams team, somebody like that here, per se. Maybe possibly a Green Bay. So, yeah, these guys will get jobs. They're just not going to be – I mean, they saved $18 million in Denver to cut Justin Simmons, arguably one of the best safety. And, of course, they got safety cut happy last year and in Cincinnati, and they took a huge hit. I mean, they were a shell of themselves. Really getting ran on, just very finesse, leaning a lot on their rookies. Could they use one? Well, they went on and franchise tagged one of their leading receivers. I can't remember what his name is now. T. Higgins. They franchise tagged him, but they still got some money. They let Bates walk last year, and it actually hurt them. And, of course, the real deal was that Burrow got hurt. But Burrow's going to be back. He's going to be back with a vengeance. They could use one of these players here. They can use one of these players at the safety position. Michael Thomas has been a major disappointment since his new contract. Looks like he's going to get released out of the Saints here. And, something's really odd. This is something that teams should look into. What's the deal with Calvin Ridley? He's going to be a free agent with the Jacksonville Jaguars, a team that traded for him the year before that. Remember, he had his gambling issues, but he had some good moments there with Trevor Lawrence. So he's going to be a free agent. Did not expect that to happen. Still got a lot. Now, maybe some character issues, maybe some punctuality, maybe he's late to practice. Maybe Jacksonville simply is not going to franchise him because that's a lot of money. Maybe they'll try to work out a deal with him and keep him with Trevor Lawrence. I would if I'm them. Not a huge receiver market. I thought maybe Pittman would be available. Maybe Higgins would be available, and Mike Evans. None of that come to fruition. I know Tyler Boyd will be out there, and Ridley will. So going to be very interesting. Again, if you wanted to build a defense, and I say this every year, you could do it on the cheap. Xavier Howard's out there, okay? You put a Xavier Howard with the Tennessee, but Christian Fulton's going to be a free agent, but he got burned a lot. I'd love to put a Xavier Howard and a Justin Simmons on a Titans team, or maybe a Washington Commanders team who had one of the worst secondaries in the league. I think they led the league in most touchdowns given up. So they can really clean up a lot of that here. Clean up a lot of that there with Washington. So a lot of stuff to keep your eye on here. You could see where the NFL is going. Cornerback, edge rusher. Me personally, I like defensive tackles over the middle of the football. I want run stoppers and edge rushers. I probably would just draft my linebackers and safeties and at least one really good corner. and another fair corner. You don't have to have 2 lockdown corners. Nobody does, other than maybe, obviously, a Kansas City, but either ways. A lot of that's just done in the draft, folks. So if you like the show, share the show right at 55 minutes. Tomorrow, I'll be back here with Carlos Mad New Yorker Chavez. Going to ask him about Daniel Jones. He's out of New York. What does he think about the possibility, and it looks like it's going to be a reality, that he's going to get replaced? Should the Giants go out and get a quarterback? Would it be reaching? Could the Giants make a move with say, New England? Could they and go out and get Drake May at 3? Remember, the Giants pick at 6. The Patriots pick at 3. And there's been talks that maybe the Patriots just want to stockpile picks. Maybe the Giants make a move, get a Drake May. They've got an extra second-round pick. And, of course, again, like I said yesterday, they're going to have to keep Daniel Jones for at least a year, and then they can move off of him next year due to his major cap hit. So I'll bring a lot of that up with Carlos Mad New Yorker Chavez. I got to get his thoughts on this Jake Paul fighting Tyson, and going to get his take on that Chris Mortensen death there. Late great Chris Mortensen, longtime NFL great reporter from ESPN. So I'll be back here tomorrow with Carlos Mad New Yorker Chavez, which is always fun. So got a good crowd tonight. I thank everybody for watching. I'll be back either way tomorrow, same time, same place here on Sports Scope.